What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Before we go any further, please do drop a like down on the video below. Let's try and smash 250 likes as we have consistently been doing. It's been absolutely insane. I want to give a shout out to Leandro Montenegro for leaving his predictions on the previous video, and he had some good ones in there, correctly predicting Arsenal to beat Fulham 3-0, correctly predicting a high-scoring close game between Liverpool and Leeds, albeit slightly wrong on the result, the Chelsea result, the Wolves result, the Leicester result. He had a fantastic week, he or she I should say. So if you want to be featured in the next episode of the Premier League predictions, then please do drop your week 2 predictions down in the comments below, and if there is a particular upset or a particularly surprising result that you get right, then I'll probably feature you in the next episode of the Premier League predictions. Now, before we get into week 2, which is very, very exciting because we finally have a full list of fixtures, let's take a little look back at week 1 and see how I did. It was a little bit hit and miss, kind of what you'd expect from the first week of the season. Some very good predictions and some not so good predictions, and one perfect score. But nevertheless, we started with Fulham versus Arsenal. I predicted a 3-1 win to Arsenal, so I was pretty close. It actually ended up being 3-0, so you've got to love that. Clean sheet, top of the league. Thank you, alphabetical order. Next up, Crystal Palace versus Southampton. When I saw Crystal Palace's first goal go in, I thought, hey, 2-1 to Southampton could be a pretty steady prediction here. But then Crystal Palace's keeper pulled off a great game, and Southampton were just wasteful in the end. They couldn't get a goal, which was surprising to me, and Crystal Palace got the 1-0 win. Next up, Liverpool Leeds. I thought it would be an easygoing 2-0 win with a robust back line, but it ended up being guns blazing, high scoring, and Liverpool's defence couldn't handle Leeds' high press, and it ended 4-3. West Ham versus Newcastle. I got to be honest, I thought my prediction was fairly sound. I was disappointed with West Ham's performance. They did hit the bar twice, and I mean, had those 2 goals gone in, it would have been a perfect score prediction. I predicted 2-2, but actually Newcastle went and won 2-0, so that's very, very good for them too. Obviously, debutants scoring there, which was, you know, a great start. They couldn't have asked for better, and the debutants don't stop scoring because, of course, we had Gabriel for Arsenal. We have Castagna for Leicester. I predicted Leicester to win 2-1 against West Brom in a close game. In the first half, it was looking a little bit cagey, quite close, but then Leicester came alive in the second half, and Jamie Vardy scoring 2 penalties as well, making it a 3-0 comfortable win in the end. Now, the next one, Tottenham Hotspur up against Everton. I mean, I knew Everton, you know, they've got a great lineup. They've got a completely revitalized midfield, and, you know, I think Decore, Alan, I think they're great players. James Rodriguez, I think he's the first player since Alexis Sanchez's first game for Arsenal in the last few years to create that many chances on their debut. So he looks like he's settling in fairly well, and Tottenham did what they need to do, held strong, and got a 1-0 win, which is pretty impressive, although I did predict Tottenham to get the win because I thought they'd be able to, and they really didn't. So this top 6 race is going to be very interesting, it does have to be said. Sheffield United up against Wolves. I was torn between going for a 2-1 win to Wolves or a 1-0 win to Wolves. I went with a 1-0 win, and in the end, I could have done with the 2 goals from Wolves, but without the goal from Sheffield United. I was very, very close, but it ended in 2-0 to Wolves, and it was actually that after the first few minutes when Wolves basically shocked Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United are going to have quite a tough season. Now, coming up after that, we had my only perfect score prediction. Brighton up against Chelsea, 3-1. Although I got the correct score and predicting it 3-1, I thought Chelsea would look a little more convincing against Brighton, but Brighton looked all right. Adam Lallana did have to go off with an injury at half-time. I'm not sure the repercussions of that, how serious it may be, but overall, a decent week, especially considering it was the first week, and I'm excited to get into week 2, kicking it off with Everton versus West Brom. I'm not going to stay on this fixture too much. I think it's going to be fairly similar to the West Brom-Leicester fixture. I think Everton are going to breeze past West Brom here. Not too high scoring. Everton games aren't typically that high scoring. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Everton with not much else to be said on that subject. The next game is Leeds up against Fulham. Fulham looked pretty shaky defensively at the back against Arsenal. Alternatively, Leeds getting 0 points as well as Fulham against Liverpool, but looking very strong going forward. And obviously, if there is a team that's going to score 4 against you, it is Liverpool at Anfield. I know Anfield may not be the fortress it's known for this year, maybe perhaps due to the lack of atmosphere, but Leeds went to Anfield with no fear, played their hearts out, and at least made a good account of themselves despite not getting any points on the board. I think Leeds will be able to beat Fulham in this fixture, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory to Leeds to start off their Premier League campaign with some points there. And Manchester United up next up against Crystal Palace. Palace doing well to get the 3 points against Southampton, and then bowing out to Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup, albeit 0-0 at extra time and 11-10 on penalties. All players in the squad taking a penalty and only the 2 keepers missing, and then Crystal Palace failing to convert the next penalty of the next next round of sudden death penalties. But in the 0-0, Palace were being dominated for the majority of the game and looked like they couldn't handle Bournemouth. Obviously, Zaha wasn't playing, Ayew was on the bench, but still there are question marks to be had at Crystal Palace, and we still don't know if Zaha will stay. He probably will, I guess, but you never know. I think Palace are going to struggle against Manchester United, and even though Manchester United still at this point haven't signed Jadon Sancho as they would have liked, they should have the quality to beat Crystal Palace. Again, I think it's going to be low scoring. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Manchester United. The next game, Arsenal up against West Ham. I was thinking before this video, am I going to have the courage to finally give Arsenal a clean sheet? And it is against West Ham, who failed to score against Newcastle and they've got a lot of trouble going on at the club. The fans aren't particularly happy, but they did put in a solid performance, albeit against Charlton in the Carabao Cup. Haller got 2 goals in about 3 minutes, and they won 3-0. So I do think there is a goal in there. And please, Arsenal, prove me wrong. I hope we can win with a clean sheet, and I hope my prediction is wrong. But although we looked very, very strong at the back, Gabriel, a lot of people were talking about his, obviously, just general defensive abilities. He's very, very good in the air. What I thought was amazing was not only his passing and his accuracy with his passing, but his vision. He wasn't passing it sideways. He was playing penetrating passes through up into the attacking midfield from the back line. There was one pass in particular. He saw and passed it straight through about 4 players to his target, and I think he had 107 out of 113 successful passes with a success rate of 95%. So as well as a defensive unit, he's left-footed, which is very handy. He's really good in the air, scoring that debut goal, albeit off his shoulder, and his passing range and vision, in my opinion, is very, very good and something to watch out for. So Arsenal's defense looks good, but I think I can just see Arsenal just conceding a goal against West Ham. West Ham do have 1 goal in them against Arsenal. They usually do tend to score. I hope they don't, but I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Arsenal. The game after this, we have Southampton up against Tottenham. The 2 favourites to win their opening fixture, both losing 1-0. I think the most surprising would be Southampton losing 1-0 to Palace, to be fair, especially away, as Southampton have a pretty good away record, it does have to be said. Tottenham falling short to Everton. Whilst it was unexpected, it's not particularly surprising, and I don't think Tottenham are going to have what it takes to go to Southampton and get a win. Tottenham's away form's not been that great for a long time, and I think Southampton are going to do enough to share the spoils here, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Coming up after that, we have Newcastle against Brighton. Brighton looking decent on the ball, similar to how Fulham in the first 10 minutes against Arsenal, they looked decent on the ball, they just couldn't convert, and then their defensive frailties let them down. Brighton looked good on the ball against Chelsea. They had a good amount of possession as well, especially considering they were playing a team like Chelsea. Newcastle, they haven't actually conceded a goal in competitive fixtures this season, beating Blackburn 1-0, despite, to be fair, being dominated in possession and in attacks, and beating West Ham 2-0. That was a great result, with Callum Wilson having a great debut, as well as Hendrick, and Fraser, of course, scoring the goal for them in the Carabao Cup. So all debutants having a fantastic start to their Newcastle career. I'm going to go for, of course, a low-scoring game. I was tempted to say 2-1, but the last few fixtures between Newcastle and Brighton, there was a 0-0 double donuts double last year, both fixtures ending 0-0. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 home win to Newcastle. Now, coming up after that, we have the game of the week. It is Chelsea up against Liverpool. This is going to be a very interesting game, but it was very, very clear from Liverpool's game against Leeds that they were a little bit shocked, perhaps still drunk from the league celebrations, but they always find a way to win even when they're playing badly. And that right there, as bad as their performance was, that is a championship winning team mentality. And if they're going to win the Premier League, they're going to need to pick up wins like that. Chelsea did very much the same sort of thing. They weren't looking that cohesive against Brighton, and perhaps it's going to take a little bit of time for the players to gel. Timo Werner looks fairly sharp. He looked sharp in the pre-game friendly as well, but Havertz looked a little bit off the pace, which perhaps you could expect, and he may need some time to settle. And I think for that reason, I think Liverpool, who have a more settled squad and who were shocked by Leeds in the first game with how well Leeds played, I think Liverpool will just do enough to actually beat Chelsea here and kind of not sit down the haters of Liverpool. I'm not exactly a lover of Liverpool, obviously, but I do think Liverpool will have just enough to beat Chelsea 2-1. But if I'm putting a bet on this game, it's not for Liverpool to win. My bet would be for both teams to score. I think that's a safer option because this could easily be a draw. Chelsea could win 2-1, but I think both teams are going to score either way. I'm going to go 2-1 to Liverpool on this occasion. Next up is Leicester up against Burnley. Burnley yet to play Premier League action due to the postponed fixtures thanks to the last stage of the Europa League and Champions League. sort of rule that was in place. So I think Leicester are going to win this game. I think it's going to be closer than when they played West Brom. It's at the King Power Stadium where Leicester do flourish and do play very well. And whilst Burnley are capable of beating Leicester on a potential day, I think Burnley are capable of beating most teams in the Premier League on their day. I don't think it will be in their opening game of the season. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Leicester City. And now coming up, we have Aston Villa up against Sheffield United. As I said earlier, I think Sheffield United are going to have a pretty tough season. I think last season you might predicted a 1-0 win or a 2-0 win to Sheffield United here. I think Aston Villa, they've made some good signings. Jack Grealish is looking good. Aston Villa look pretty decent, and I wanted to back Aston Villa to win, but I think Sheffield, they are quite strong defensively, so I can't separate the two. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. And the final game of the week, another really interesting one, is Wolves up against Manchester City, because Wolves have beaten Man City in their previous 3 competitive meetings, and 2 of those being a 3-2 win to Wolves. So Wolves, who are typically a low-scoring team in the sense that their games are low-scoring, they tend to win by scoring 2 goals, perhaps only 1 goal, and conceding 0 or 1 goals themselves if it goes well for them. But as soon as they play Man City, all of that changes, because they get up for it, they play Man City better than anyone else does, and they score goals. And I think they will score a couple of goals with the likes of Jimenez up top, who is always going to find a way into those channels to potentially cause some trouble and put the ball into the back of the net. Manchester City, it is their first game, and because of that, I'm not going to say Manchester City will be as cohesive and convincing going forward to score 4 goals like I was originally going to predict, but I do think they're going to score 3. And I think they're going to win the game. So I'm going to go for a 3-2 win, but finally in favour of Manchester City. Like I said, had I had the chance to see Man City play this weekend and assess whether or not perhaps they looked up to the task of playing Wolves, who are a tough outfit, perhaps I would have gone for a 4-2 away win. But I'm going to go for a high-scoring, a super exciting 3-2 win to Manchester City. So that is going to do it for this video and my Premier League predictions. If you did enjoy it, please do leave a like on it. Drop your predictions down in the comments below. And as I said, the comment that jumps out at me, the comment that predicts a surprise result or something like that, will be featured in the episode of week 3 of the Premier League predictions. So yes, that is going to do it from me. And I will see you in the next video very soon.